Good evening, everybody. My name is Keevon Johnson, and I'm a criminal justice student at University of North Texas. And today I'm doing a research paper, and I want to introduce it as the contrast of the Mexican Mafia and the Sicilian Mafia. I would like to contrast those two organized criminal organizations. Just like to pull out a few points when we talk about the Mexican Mafia. They're based out of basically California correctional facilities, and in these facilities they are put together as structured where they're very dangerous. They work from their cells, and also they're out in the streets. And another thing to remember is that the Mexican Mafia deals more in drugs, and we call them the drug cartels. So therefore, again, dangerous, and they operate in the prison system, so they can be known to operate for hitmen for hire in the penal system. They operate from, let's see, extortion, more blue collar crime, more heinous type crimes. Again, very, very dangerous. They have a love for violence, and when you see them in these prison systems, for instance, they can put on this hellish act. Even the Aryan Brotherhood or the Aryan Nation actually asked them for assistance to kill at will or to take contracts out on people inside the penal system. Again, the reason that I want to contrast the two is because, again, they are organized in a sense, especially when you talk about the drug activity that they abide in. They also abide in prostitution, illegal things that is quite petty, in my opinion. Now, when you take a look at their structure, they operate kind of like the penal system. They have the sergeants, they have the captains. I mean, they have the wardens, and they're a pretty tight group. And you might want to think about some questions that you may ask me. You wonder how to get into the gang. One way to get into the gang is to commit a murder, or be initiated into the gang by blood. And another thing you might ask, how do you get out of the Mexican Mafia? Only way out of the Mexican Mafia is by death. There's no other way. You either die or they either kill you. So it's a pretty hierarchy rank. Mexican Mafia is pretty dangerous, and they've been operating for years inside the penal system as well as out on the outside, and also in Mexico. So now, when we contrast the two, meaning contrast the Mexican Mafia in regards to the Sicilian Mafia, in my opinion, the reason that I contrast it is because they are more organized. Again, in my opinion, the Mexican Mafia, they operate on petty things, versus the Sicilian Mafia. They're quite organized. I mean, they're more into white collar crimes. They're more into, again, extortion. They're into money laundering. They're into contracts. They're into infrastructure. I mean, not only does the Sicilian Mafia operate on a level playing field, meaning in the neighborhoods, they also hire law enforcement for protection. They actually hire government officials to protect their backs and their accesses. And so when you look at the Sicilian Mafia, it's a very large group that came from Italy, and they were part of the 500,000 immigrants back in the 1900s. So when they came over into America, most of them was law-abiding citizens. Again, I'll say that again. When the Sicilians or the Italians came from the 1900s over into the U.S., most of them just was law-abiding citizens. They wanted to get a job. They wanted to be a productive citizen. However, inside of the Sicilian Mafia, or inside of Italy, which transferred over into the United States, there were some criminals, and there were people with criminal backgrounds who came to America to set up their shops, and that's what happened with the Sicilian Mafia. Sicilian Mafia is very powerful. Again, as we talked about extortion, I mean, we talk about bribes. They actually they could have someone who has a legitimate business, and that from that legitimate business has it set up and as it's being productive, the Sicilian Mafia will make them pay sort of a fee to operate inside of a certain area. And I mean, if you don't abide and if you don't pay the certain tariff, I mean, they will shut your business down and perhaps you may be killed. Another thing I like to point out about the Mexican Mafia versus the Sicilian Mafia, when the Mexican Mafia set out a hit or they're upset about something that's happening in the community, or someone backstabs them or do something to infiltrate them, they create havoc, meaning that they create dangerous situations. They will find the person and they will literally decapitate them right in front of their families. I mean, they do things that's really petty and really heinous, and it's just amazing the type of terror that the Mexican Mafia creates, even in the penal system. They do the exact same thing. They decapitate. They will burn a person. I mean, they will just cause havoc. Now, when you look at the Sicilian Mafia, when they come up upon things that's not working right, or people that infiltrate their system, they're more calculated, and most of the time when they do things, of course you see it on the television, or you see it all over the world, but it takes a while before that news gets to the person or gets to the audience, because they do it in such a calculated way, such a professional manner, that it's not all over the news right away. They'll take your loved ones and they'll get rid of them and you'll never see them again. I mean, they do some crazy things also, but they do it in a more organized fashion. And those are some of the things that separates the Sicilian Mafia versus the Mexican Mafia. Again, the Sicilian Mafia, they operate on a hierarchy as well as a good bureaucracy. They have the boss, which is the number one man, and then from the boss they have like the underboss. Now the boss makes the decision, the underboss is the co-boss, and then you have something called the captains, which is the smaller guys under the underboss, and then they also have associates that work under them. So they have a pretty structured organization. Also, they have the kind of like the Robin Hood type. When you talk about the bosses, I mean, they do a lot of things for the community. Back in the 1900s, the Sicilian Mafia had soup kitchens to where they fed the working families and the poor. So, you know, they had the Robin Hood type figure in the Sicilian Mafia. But again, more than likely, the Sicilian Mafia operates in a lot of the white collar crime, like I said before, the bootlegging, the prostitution, the hitmen for hire also. So they're pretty organized in what they do. Not to say that the Mexican Mafia is not organized, but again, that's what I want to do is contrast the two. Now, here's some of the things you want to know about the Sicilian Mafia, where they come from. There's some questions you can think about, how they was formed and how to get in and how to get out. And again, that is my paper contrasting the Mexican Mafia versus Sicilian Mafia. And again, my name is Yvonne Johnson. Thank you.